Welcome back, dear friends, to Legend and Lore Stories. Before we begin, I want to remind you, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support keeps this channel alive and inspires us to bring you more heartfelt and unforgettable stories. Now, let's take a deep breath, settle in, and journey together into a tale of childhood innocence, first love, and the bittersweet memories that time can never erase. This is the story of Daniel, a boy who grew up in the disciplined yet adventurous world of an army camp. His father was a proud officer in the military, and so Daniel's early years were filled with the structured rhythm of army life, shifting houses, adjusting to new environments, and carrying responsibilities even at a young age. When Daniel reached ninth grade, his family was allotted a new house. It was on the first floor of a building, and because Daniel was the eldest among his siblings, he naturally became his father's helper during the exhausting process of moving in, carrying boxes up the stairs, arranging furniture, and ensuring that his younger siblings stayed out of trouble. He did it all with a sense of pride and duty. One day, while climbing the stairs with his father, Daniel's attention was caught by something, or rather, someone. Across from their new home stood a modest single-story house, and in its small courtyard, a young girl appeared. She was shaking the water from her freshly washed hair, sunlight glinting off every drop. She was beautiful, graceful, delicate, and radiant in a way that instantly captured Daniel's attention. Their eyes met briefly. For Daniel, it felt like a strange spark passed between them, though the moment ended quickly as she disappeared indoors. At first, he thought perhaps she was a guest, someone who would be gone in a day or two, and for nearly a year, he didn't see her again. That silence, that absence, made him wonder whether he had imagined the entire encounter. But then the seasons changed. Summer's heat gave way to the cool embrace of winter. Daniel was now in 10th grade, preparing for the challenges of his final exams, and on one crisp afternoon, as he prepared to leave for his second shift at school, he caught sight of her again. There she was, sitting peacefully in her courtyard, basking in the sun. In that instant, Daniel understood she wasn't a passing guest. She was the daughter of that house, and from that day on, their silent story truly began. At first, Daniel felt guilty. He believed his comings and goings disturbed her peace. Whenever he left the house for school or errands, he noticed how quickly she would retreat inside, wanting her to feel safe. Daniel started closing his door firmly behind him whenever he stepped out, signaling that she had nothing to worry about. Strangely enough, she began to stay outside even when he passed. Slowly, a quiet rhythm developed between them, silent acknowledgement, a wordless companionship. Daniel was careful never to stare, never to make her feel uncomfortable. Instead, he chose to show respect, to let her know she was secure. Yet in the midst of this discipline, his own heart betrayed him. Without realizing when or how, he had fallen in love. She too began to notice his presence. Soon, whenever Daniel walked to buy vegetables, to head to school, or even to run a small errand, she would be there sitting, waiting, her gaze often drifting toward his family's home. Her watchful eyes, the way her attention lingered, it became clear she was no longer indifferent. Daniel was shy, though. Even when standing by his window, he couldn't bring himself to look at her directly. Instead, he would pick up his flute and play, as though the music itself could carry his emotions across the space between them. Still, one day, emboldened by a surge of courage, he opened his window and played his favorite song at full volume. The words, "To lose myself in someone's love, it cannot be helped," filled the air. And this time, Daniel dared to look at her with a smile. To his delight, she smiled back softly, shyly, yet with unmistakable joy. That one moment lit a fire in his memory, a glow that never faded. Days passed, and the two grew closer, in ways only young hearts can understand. They began exchanging glances, silent promises, and fleeting smiles. Finally, one day, the girl, let's call her Emily, called Daniel behind our house, to the quieter side, away from watchful eyes. Her words were hesitant yet clear. "You hardly ever appear before me. Stay where I can see you more often." It was both a request and a confession. Trembling with nervous excitement, Daniel admitted what he had long kept locked inside. "I love you." From then on, their bond deepened. Even without phones, without the luxury of endless conversations, their eyes, their smiles, their gestures carried messages far stronger than words. To Daniel, it felt like the world had bloomed anew. To Emily, his presence was no longer a disturbance. It was something she longed for, something she cherished. Love had quietly taken root between them, but the innocence of first love rarely comes without its trials. One afternoon, Daniel's mother noticed the changes in her son, the distraction, the late nights, the dreamy expression. She recognized the signs. With a mix of concern and curiosity, she asked, "So, tell me, Daniel, what's going on? Who is it?" Daniel's face flushed with embarrassment, but he could not deny it. With hesitant honesty, he confessed. His mother listened, half amused and half troubled. At first, she chuckled at his nervousness. Then, with a knowing smile, she remarked, "Ah, so that explains why the girl sits in her courtyard all day, lipstick fresh on her lips. She's waiting for you, isn't she?" Her teasing words embarrassed Daniel, but then her tone shifted. She became serious, her voice gentle but firm. "My son, she is older than you, much older. She is already promised to someone else. Her engagement is near, and you are still so young. This is your time to study, to build your future, not to lose yourself in dreams that cannot be fulfilled." Her words were like a hammer on Daniel's heart. He wanted to argue, to protest, but deep down, he knew she was right. His mother made him promise that he would no longer linger outside, no longer meet Emily's gaze, no longer allow this secret romance to consume him. The family, after all, was only staying in that neighborhood for 1 year. Their departure was already planned. The countdown had begun. For the next 3 days, Daniel and Emily lived through an agony only young hearts can understand. From his window, he could see her waiting, restless, her eyes searching for him. She, too, knew time was running out. Daniel, bound by his promise, could not go to her. Instead, he watched in silence, his heart breaking with every glance. Emily's eyes, filled with longing, pierced him, but he stayed away, torn between love and duty. On the day of departure, Daniel packed his few belongings and prepared to leave with his mother. As they wheeled the cycle to the gate, Emily rushed to her doorway. Their eyes met one last time. Daniel, holding back tears, turned his gaze away and walked on. He didn't look back. He couldn't. His mother's words echoed inside him. "It is not the right time. Your path lies elsewhere." And so, Emily remained behind, standing at her gate, watching him disappear. Daniel carried her image with him, burned into his memory. That was the end of their story, at least. In that chapter of life, years passed. Daniel grew older, wiser. He completed his studies, built a career, and eventually married. Life moved on. Yet, in the quiet moments, when the world fell still, he found himself remembering her, the girl across the courtyard, the girl with the shy smile, the girl who had unknowingly stolen his heart during his youth. Fate, however, had one more surprise. Many years later, Daniel attended the wedding of an old acquaintance. There, among the guests, he saw her again, Emily. Time had passed, and life had changed. She was now a married woman, a mother of 3 children. The innocence of her youth had been replaced by the grace of maturity. But her smile still carried echoes of the past. They exchanged polite words, a brief acknowledgement, nothing more. Yet for Daniel, the encounter was like touching a tender scar. It hurt, but it also reminded him that once, long ago, he had loved with all the purity of a young heart. Now, Daniel too had a family of his own 2 children, a wife who cared deeply for him. Life had been generous, and still, his first love lingered in the corners of his memory, not in a way that diminished his present happiness, but in the quiet manner of a cherished story, a private treasure, a reminder of what it feels like to love for the very first time. Friends, isn't that the way with first loves? They rarely last forever, yet they remain unforgettable. They shape us, teach us, and leave us with a bittersweet nostalgia. We move on, we grow, we live, but deep inside, that memory stays alive, untouched by time. Thank you for listening to this story of Daniel and Emily, of childhood innocence, unspoken promises, and the unforgettable power of first love. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel.